Perform the operations by hand, then use a calculator to check your work. So now we're doing an order of operations problem that's involving fractions. So let's see what we can do with this thing. So since we're doing order of operations, I'm going to put my little order of operations reminder over here. So parentheses and then exponents and then multiply or divide left to right, add or subtract left to right. So in this particular problem, as we look at it, we see that we have subtraction here and we have multiplication here. Remember, order of operation tells us we're going to do the multiplication first and then we're going to come back and do the subtraction. It's real common to want to just work from left to right and do the subtraction first, so be careful you don't do that. Be sure that you're paying attention to what the order of operations tells you to do. So let's go ahead and do our multiplication here. So we're going to do our multiplying there. And I'm going to use this idea that this negative sign is sort of holding on to this 3/5. So a negative 3/5 times a positive 2/3 is going to give us a negative. So that's going to stay as a negative sign there. And now when I go to do my multiplication straight across, well, we've learned that we like to do, cancel out our common factors first. But take a look here, folks. When we do our subtraction, notice we're going to need a 15 denominator. And we're going to need another 15 denominator, and actually this is really nice because this problem, when we do the multiplication, if we don't cancel out the 3's, will give us the 15 denominator. So I'm not going to do the cancel here. Even though we would usually do that, I'm thinking, well, if I don't cancel, I'm going to have the common denominator I'm going to need for when I do my 15 subtraction. It's not always going to work that way, but if you kind of look a step ahead and see what's going on with that, you may be able to save yourself a few steps. So I'm going to go ahead and just multiply straight across. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. And if I go ahead and bring down that, whoops, I want to be sure that that looks like a 15, that it doesn't look like a 6. So let me just rewrite that. So we said that that was 6 over 15. And remember, we don't want to forget about that 14/15, which was the first part of the problem. And now you can see why not doing the canceling of the 3's was really helpful. Because now when I have to do my subtraction, I already have my common denominator of 15. Because once we do the multiplying, then we're going to come back and do the add subtract. 15 is going to stay my denominator. And 14 minus 6 is 8. 8/15 won't simplify, so that would be our final answer. Let's use our calculator to check to make sure our work is correct. So remember what we had. We had 14/15. I'm going to use my fraction key. 14, fraction key, 15. And from that we're going to subtract 3/5, 3, fraction key 5, which was multiplied by 2/3, 2, fraction key 3. And the nice thing is, on a scientific calculator, it knows the order of operations. So it knows that it needs to multiply first and then come back and do the subtraction. It's going to know that information. When we press equal, there's the 8/15. Let me just pull that up again. There's 8/15, just like we came up with when we worked it by hand.